Never underestimate your opponent. There's a moment in the entire operation where one casualty causes a psychological effect on the unit. Commanders must face the brutal fact that some of his soldiers are going to get hurt and get killed. My name is In-Bum Chun. I've been a combat commander from platoon to combat division and ultimately as the commander of special forces. In between, I have served in the Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff, Army Headquarters, Korean Ministry of Defense, all in positions predominantly dealing with the United States and other foreign countries. And I have been retired for now close to 9 years. My rank when I separated from the Korean military was a 3-star general. Today I've been asked to see some commercial movies and comment on them. This is a very informative movie. It shows never underestimate your opponent. A U.S. Ranger unit is one of the best trained infantry in the world. But if you underestimate, that leads to poor preparation. In the movie, you'll see soldiers thinking, well, we'll be there, and we'll just snatch a couple of targets and then we'll come back. And so they don't carry their night vision goggles. They don't carry their armor plating because it's heavy. That's what soldiers do. But what happens? It becomes a long fight for survival. 2 things that I want to point out. The way that they shoot and move, all of that, the first aid that they're able to provide, those are all technical stuff. Number 1 is when the initial rappelling of the soldier happens and one of the soldiers loses his grip and he falls. There's a moment in the entire operation where that one casualty causes a psychological effect on the unit. Now, they were not expecting somebody to get hurt or killed. This is another thing of not being prepared. Commanders must face the brutal fact that some of his soldiers are going to get hurt and get killed. But the point that I would like to make is the 2 Delta soldiers, Gordon and Sugart. There's a scene in this movie where they volunteer to go down and try to protect the pilot. To this day, when I think of the courage of these 2 men, Gordon and Sugart, I don't care if they're Americans, they're Koreans, these are people truly special. Not because they know how to shoot, but because these men are willing to sacrifice themselves. Some might say it's a suicide wish, but I think that's a very underestimation of what they did. They showed the ultimate humanitarian humanism, where they were willing to sacrifice their lives for somebody else. And to those men, they're probably the best of us. And so in this movie, I think those are the things that we should always remember.
3, terminate the compromise.
I vaguely remember that they were inserted to recon and identify a key Taliban leader. And they ran into this goat herder kid. I expect soldiers to adhere to the rules of war. Innocent civilians must always be protected. But as you see in this movie, it comes with a great price. As a military officer, it is my duty to ensure that the soldiers understand that even during war, that there are rules and regulations and especially moral standards that must be kept. And these men, they did exactly that at the price of their lives. This is the main reason the United States military, the United States government, despite all of its failures, is an organization that I think generally the world respects. The attitude of the commander must be an attention to moral codes and the legality of war, not just to protect himself, but to make sure that his men don't become animals. We see examples during World War II where civilians were murdered and tortured, it is the duty of the commander, the government, to make sure that these standards are upheld. Now, these men, my highest respects to them, they gave their lives. But if I were in their position, I probably would have done the same, because if I had killed that boy and that man, especially the boy, I might have returned back, but I probably would have had a hard time sleeping, and eventually it would have caught up with me. This is a situation, this is a puzzle that is very, very hard to answer. By dealing with these kind of situations and thinking about it, you never know what you're going to do in this situation. Movies like this, people will look to the scene and say, I wonder what I would have done. It really matters at that critical moment. So I think that this film really contributed in that. These men should be remembered for their courage and their virtue.
Rules of engagement says we cannot touch them.
I care about you. I care about you. I care about you.
These men are from Navy SEALs. Is there any difference in training or mentality between Special Forces and regular forces?
Not at all, not for the Americans. My concern is that they're too concerned about collateral damage. Because they don't want to harm or kill civilians, number one, they put themselves at risk. I really don't think that it would be applicable to Korea, or it should, because, in the Asian continent, the Japanese in World War II, the Koreans during the Korean War, it's going to be a horrible type of war. And all wars are horrible, but the Asian way of fighting is so savage. Those kind of standards actually cripple the American soldier, and the enemy will use it against us. One of the things that I see is a lot of American veterans committing suicide. Why do these men feel guilty or depressed about, what they did during war to protect their country and their families? I think there's a lack of appreciation by American society towards these soldiers. Nobody's telling them, look, Bob, I know you had to do terrible things, but thank God you did it instead of Mary. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but God forgives you. The American way of war is unique in another way, that 9 hours before you're in a situation like that, but 9 hours later you're back in Pittsburgh and somebody is honking because you're driving out of lane or something. Only those people who have experienced it can really know how it feels. There needs to be a decompression period. This is a close quarters scene that we're seeing here. I don't see anything that is unusual, but the way you do that is a lot of practice. So in this particular operation, they built a mock building. The problem that they had was they didn't exactly know what the inside of the building looked like. So that was a big challenge. But this is what Special Forces live for, close quarters combat. Night operations is challenging. So Zero Dark 30 is actually about intelligence collection to conduct this operation. My job would have been when my superior came to me and said, General Chun, we have a target for your unit. And I would collect information relevant to that mission. In this case, where is it? Who's inside? What's the routine? What's the environment? Then I would select a unit. When all of that is ready, I would back brief my superior. He would probably say yes. And then after that, I'd make sure that the men got some good rest, hot meal, good equipment, and I'd be praying and keeping my fingers crossed.
Hang in there, bud.
And this is an exceptional man. He's providing overwatch for Marines who are conducting search and destroy, as well as close quarters combat to clean out an area. Again, Special Forces, they have more training, better training, but in this case, he is providing an overwatch. I've met a lot of men who might have been not officers. Western culture, especially American culture, that divide is very thin. And I mean mutual respect. Yeah, I've met many who are of lesser rank that I respect, and I've met other people who were of higher rank than I that I totally did not respect at all because they were, full of themselves. I would have really loved to meet him in person and shake his hand. He did his job. American Sniper shows challenges that a modern day American soldier has in the kind of warfare, deployed warfare that the American soldier has to have. There's a scene here where Chris Kyle is talking to his wife. And I believe his wife is coming out of the hospital because she's pregnant or something. And then they start getting shot at. It's a new phenomenon. Can you imagine in World War II, soldiers being able to call back home their mom and their wife? But this gentleman not only was a good shooter, but look at him. He's able to do first aid, he's able to communicate. Having a good radio is one thing, which, by the way, we Koreans don't have. The way he's able to pass on the situation, able to share the situational awareness around him. This movie shows those kinds of challenges that the American soldier faced in Afghanistan and in the Middle East.
We watched 4. Ratings for each of them, from excellent to average for each of them.
I can't. All of them are excellent. If I had to go to the moon and take only one of these movies, I'd probably take Black Hawk Down. It's got a lot of things to think about. It involves a wide range of people, the commanders at the brigade level, battalion level, at the squad level, the individual soldiers, how they react. Unless you have a high degree of training, soldiers will not act that way. You see soldiers in this film where they become hesitant because they just can't take it anymore. And yet they overcome their physical limitations and their courage, their fears, and they overcome that. A man who has no fear is not a smart man. You should be scared. The real courageous person is a person who will overcome his fears and do the right thing. And that only comes from training, from education. So in this movie, you can see many instances where the soldiers are scared, they're tired, but they give that extra mile. This is the real strength of the American soldier, the individual. An individual soldier like that, it doesn't just come because he's been trained for 2 or 3 years. It's the kind of education that starts at the home, from mom and dad, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers. A lot of these men did not go to Harvard or Princeton, but they acted more nobly than anyone that you can name from those great prestigious schools. This is something that we need to think about. So in order to have a great soldier, it has to start from the home, the community, then they come in, they get soldier training and education, then he becomes something like that. I'm just a normal guy. I was put in positions of authority. Although I was never afraid of my superiors, I was always conscious about my subordinates. I believed from the very beginning, any person, especially a government employee who is being paid by taxpayer money, that he or she owes their loyalties not to himself or his superiors, but to the people that he represents. So when I was a platoon leader, I fought for my men's welfare, getting them fed, getting them clothed, making sure that they got enough rest. And I did that for my entire career, whether I was leading 12,000 men or whether it was 35 men when I was a platoon leader. And I learned this from an American general. So at age 25, 25, I was going to now become a company commander of 120 men. I went to an American general and he said, Captain Chun, take care of your men and they'll take care of you. It rang very deeply in my soul. That's how you serve your country. Taking care of other people, especially those who need your help, is the decent thing to do. And I think that's one of the things that we need to learn from Americans. Although Americans are not perfect, there are a lot of decent people out there.